That little progress bar on VA.gov, it may be lying to you. Not about where your claim is, but about what's actually happening at each stage and what you should be doing about it. So let me show you what's really going on behind the curtains. So every veteran who's ever filed a VA claim knows that feeling. You submit your claim, you log into VA.gov literally probably every day, sometimes multiple times a day, watching that progress tracker. Claims received, initial review, evidence gathering, review of evidence, preparation for decisions, pending decision approval, complete. And then you sit there for weeks, sometimes months, watching it stuck on evidence gathering or preparation for decision, wondering what the hell is happening. Is anyone actually working on my claim? Did it fall behind a file cabinet? Did someone spill coffee on it? Is there even a human being involved, or is it just sitting in a digital purgatory somewhere? I have been there. Every veteran who has ever filed a claim has been there. But here's what most veterans don't know. Each of those stages represents a specific action, specific people, and specific opportunities for your claim to either move forward or to get stuck. And today, I'm taking you behind the scenes. I'm going to explain exactly what happens at each stage, who's involved, why claims get stuck, and what you can do to keep things moving. This is the video I wish I had when I filed my first claim, so let's break it down. Now let me tell you why understanding these stages actually matters. I talked to a veteran just last month who had been stuck in evidence gathering for 7 months. 7 months. He was frustrated. He was angry. He thought the VA had forgotten about him. When we dug into it, here's what we found. The VA had requested medical records from one of his private providers. That provider never responded. The VA sent a second response, still nothing. Now, the VA has something called duty to assist. They are supposed to help you gather evidence, but here's what most veterans don't know. The VA isn't going to chase down unresponsive doctors forever. After a couple of attempts, they move on. And if that evidence was critical to your claim, you just got denied for insufficient evidence. This veteran had been waiting 7 months for records that were never coming because his doctor's office had gone out of business and nobody told him. If he'd understood what evidence gathering actually meant, he could have tracked down those records himself months earlier. Instead, he waited and eventually got denied. So understanding these stages isn't just about satisfying your curiosity, it's about knowing when to take action and when the VA needs your help to move your claim forward. So quick background on why I can explain this to you, all right? I am Dr. Marshall Barr, an actual doctor, former Army Ranger with the 75th Ranger Regiment, former Special Operations Combat Medic, and I used to be a C&P examiner. I've been inside this process. I've seen how claims move and how they get stuck. Now I run Xterra Health, where I help veterans build claims that actually get approved. So let me walk you through each of these stages, all right? So stage 1 is claim received. This is basically a timestamp, a postmark, the VA's way of saying, yep, we got it. When you submit your claim, whether online, by mail, or in person, it enters the system and gets assigned a receipt date. This date is critical, and here's why. Your effective date for compensation is typically the date the VA received your claim, or the date you filed your intent to file, if you did that first. Let's say you file a claim on March 1st. The VA takes 8 months to decide. They approve you at 50%. Well, your back pay goes back to March 1st, not the date they approved you. That is 8 months of compensation that you are owed. So, when you see claim received, verify that date is correct. If you filed on March 1st, but the system shows March 15th, that's 2 weeks of back pay you're going to be losing. It's the VA. Mistakes happen. Check the date like you're checking your bank account after a night in Fayetteville. If the date is wrong, contact the VA immediately. Call the 1-800 number. Go to your regional office. Get it fixed. Now, not later. This stage is usually very quick, a day or two. It just acknowledges that your claim exists. Now, stage 2 is initial review. So what does it mean? This is where a veteran service representative, a VSR, takes a quick look at your claim to make sure it's complete enough to move forward. The VSR is checking, is this veteran eligible? Did they actually serve? Is the claim complete? Are the basic forms filled out? Is there enough information to know what we're evaluating? Does the veteran have a current diagnosis or at least symptoms we can evaluate? Now, this is the unicorn stage. Most veterans barely notice this stage because it moves fast. It's sometimes called the unicorn stage because by the time you check your status, it's already gone. But here's where it can go wrong. If your claim is incomplete, like missing a form, missing basic information, it can get kicked back to you for clarification. That adds weeks or even months to your timeline. So this is why filing a complete claim from the start matters. Don't submit half-finished paperwork hoping to add more later. Get it right the first time. What the VSR is not doing at this stage is they are not evaluating the merits of your claim. They are not deciding if you'll be approved or denied. They are not reading your nexus letter or personal statement in detail. This is a triage step. They're just making sure your claim is ready to move into the real evaluation process. It usually takes a few days to a couple of weeks depending on the volume of claims that they've received. Now, stage 3 is evidence gathering. This is where most claims spend the majority of their time, and this is where most veterans get frustrated. At this stage, the VA is collecting all the evidence they need to make a decision on your claim. This includes things like your service treatment records if they don't already have them from prior claims, your VA medical records that automatically get pulled from VA systems, your private medical records if you've identified outside providers. The VA will request records from them. DOD records like personnel records, deployment records, D214 or anything else, and the CMP exam. This is the big one. They'll schedule you for a compensation and pension exam to evaluate your condition. So let's talk about that CMP exam for a second. This is where a medical examiner, sometimes a VA employee, sometimes a contractor like either QTC or Optum, evaluates your condition and provides a medical opinion. The examiner is documenting what is your current diagnosis, how severe is it, how does it affect your functioning, is it at least as likely as not connected to your service. The exam is critical. The examiner's opinion carries significant weight in the decision. If they say your condition is less likely than not connected to service, that's a problem. And I'll be honest, not all CMP examiners are created equal. Some are thorough and fair, others spend 5 minutes with you and write a report that reads like they didn't listen to a word you said. Now, the VA has what's called a duty to assist doctrine. That means they're supposed to help you gather evidence. But, and this is important, the duty to assist has its limitations. If the VA requests records from your private medical provider and the doctor or provider doesn't respond, the VA will try again, maybe twice, but they're not going to chase down unresponsive medical providers forever. After a couple of attempts, they're going to note records are unavailable and then they move on. If those records were crucial to your claim, you're kind of shit out of luck. You get decided without them. This is why you need to be proactive. Don't just assume the VA is handling everything. Track what records have been requested. Follow up with your providers. If something isn't getting submitted, get it yourself and then submit it directly yourself. Here's a pro tip. Consider filing a fully developed claim, an FDC. So an FDC means you're submitting all your evidence up front. Service records, medical records, nexus letter, DBQs, personal statement, buddy statements, everything. The benefit? Well, your claim can skip a lot of this stage. The VA doesn't need to chase down records because you've already provided everything. FDCs typically process much faster because the evidence is already packaged and already there. The trade-off though, if you miss something, you can add it later without potentially converting to a standard claim and losing the FDC processing advantage. If you're organized and have all of your evidence ready, the FDC, the fully developed claim route, is the way to go. If you need the VA's help gathering records, standard claim might be a better pathway. Now, evidence gathering can take anywhere from a few weeks to several months, especially if you need a CMP exam or multiple exams and the contractors are backlogged. Now, quick pause here. If you're in the evidence gathering phase right now and you're not sure what's happening, or if you need help building a claim that doesn't get stuck, we can help. At Xterra Health, we help veterans put together completely fully developed claims with proper medical evidence, nexus letters, personal statement guidance, the whole package. It is a free consultation, free records review. The link is in the description. So let's keep moving. So now on to stage 4. This is review of evidence. So what does it mean? This is where the actual decision making starts. A VA rater, sometimes called a Rating Veteran Service Representative or RVSR, reviews all the evidence that's been compiled. The rater is reviewing things like your service treatment records, your VA and private medical records, your C&P exam results, your personal statement, any buddy statements, any next letters, all supporting evidence. They are answering three fundamental questions. One, does the veteran have a current disability? Is there a diagnosis? Two, is there evidence of an in-service event, injury, or illness? And three, is there a nexus, a connection between the current disability and the in-service event? Think of it as a triangle. You've got current disability, in-service event, and nexus. If any of those three is missing, your claim has a problem. Now, you might have heard about benefit of the doubt doctrine. So what does it say? The regulation says when there's an approximate balance of positive and negative evidence, the benefit of the doubt always goes to the veteran. The reality, it sounds great, right? The VA gives you the benefit of the doubt. Here's the reality though. Benefit of the doubt doesn't mean we'll assume you're right. It means that if the evidence is truly balanced, 50-50 split, you win. But most denied claims aren't 50-50. They're more like 60-40 against or 70-30 against because the evidence wasn't presented clearly. Here's the lesson. Don't rely on benefit of the doubt. Build a claim where the evidence is clearly in your favor. Make it 70-30 split for you and not against you. Benefit of the doubt is like military planning. Sure, in theory, higher ups will support you, but in practice, bring your own assets. Here's the most important thing about this stage. The rater is not going to connect the dots for you. If your evidence is scattered all over the place, diagnosis here, service records there, no clear nexus tying them together, the rater isn't going to piece it together and say, well, obviously this is connected. You have to connect the dots. Your evidence has to tell a clear, coherent story. I had this event in service, it caused this condition. Here's the medical opinion proving the connection. Here's how it affects my life. Remember, raters are processing hundreds and hundreds of claims. They don't have time to play detective. Make it easy for them to approve you. This stage can take a few weeks to a couple of months depending on the complexity and backlog that they're facing. Now, stage 5 is preparation for decision, the dreaded stage. This is the one that drives veterans absolutely bonkers. At this stage, the rating officer is actually drafting your decision letter. They're writing up the formal decision, assigning your rating percentages, calculating your combined rating, and preparing everything for approval. So why does it take forever? Why does it take so long? Because the decision letter has to be legally and medically compliant. Every statement has to be supportable. Every rating has to be justifiable. Every denial has to be explained. It's like writing an award citation, except instead of making you sound good, they're just documenting exactly why you deserve or don't deserve compensation. And like award citations, it takes forever. The stage is often called purgatory or the bottleneck stage because claims can sit here for weeks or even months on end. Here's why claims get stuck at this stage. Well, 1, the complexity of your case. If you filed for multiple conditions, the rating is more complicated. The rater has to evaluate each condition, assign individual ratings, and calculate a combined rating. That just takes more time. 2, clarification could be needed. Sometimes the rater reviews everything and realizes something doesn't quite add up. They need clarification from the C&P examiner or they need an additional medical opinion. So when this happens, your claim could actually loop back to stage 3, the evidence gathering stage. The rater requests more information and you're back in evidence collection phase. This is infuriating when it happens. You were almost at the finish line and suddenly now you're back at stage 3. So why does this happen? Well, it usually happens because the C&P exam was either incomplete or unclear, or the examiner didn't answer the specific questions the VA needed, or there's contradictory evidence that needs resolution, or maybe something in your file raised a red flag that needs investigation. So what can you do about that? Well, unfortunately, not much you can do at this stage except, well, wait and be responsive if the VA contacts you for additional information. Now, this stage is the longest stage for many claims. Usually will take weeks to months. That is very, very common. Now, stage number 6, pending decision approval. Good news, if you're at this stage, you're almost to the finish line. So at this stage, the draft decision goes to a supervisor for review and approval. They are checking the rater's work, making sure the decision is legally sound, properly documented, and ready to send out. The supervisor is verifying, are the ratings correct based on the evidence? Is the decision letter properly written? Are there any errors that need correction? Does everything comply with VA regulations? This stage is usually pretty quick, a few days to maybe a week at most. It's essentially quality control before the decision is finalized. Now, what can go wrong here though? Occasionally the supervisor will kick it back for corrections, but usually if you've made it this far, you're about to get your answer. Now, when you see pending decision approval, you can start cautiously optimistic, right? You can start to get a little optimistic because now you know the decision is made. It just needs a final sign off. Now, stage number 7, notification sent / complete, the moment of truth. This is it, the finish line. Your decision letter is on its way. Now, your decision letter gets mailed to you and also posted to VA.gov if you have your account. You're going to receive your rating decision, your individual rating for each condition, your combined rating, your effective date, your back pay calculation, and an explanation for any denials. When you get this letter, read it. Not just skim it, but read it. Check the following. The effective date. Is it the date you filed or the date you expected? This affects your back pay. Individual ratings. Are they what you expected based on your conditions? Your combined rating, does the math make sense to you? Remember, VA math isn't regular math. They don't just add percentages together. Bilateral factor. If you have conditions affecting both sides of your body, did they apply the bilateral factor? Denied conditions. If anything was denied, read the why. This is your roadmap for an appeal or a supplemental claim. Now, let me talk about denials for a quick second. If a condition was denied, the letter will explain why. Now, there are common reasons like no current diagnosis, no in-service event documented, no nexus between condition and service, insufficient evidence. Here's the key. A denial is not the end. Remember, it's just feedback. The denial letter tells you exactly what was missing. Now you know what evidence you need to add. You remember, you have 3 options after denial. You can do a supplemental claim, which just means you submit new and relevant evidence for a new decision. You can do an HLR, which is a higher level review, and have a senior rater review the same evidence for errors. Or you can do a board appeal and take it to the Board of Veterans Appeals. Most denials can be overcome with better evidence in a supplemental claim. Just read the denial carefully and address what was missing and file it again. Listen, the VA denial letter is basically the after-action review of your claim. Here's what went wrong, here's what you should have done, so do it better next time, soldier. So let me give you 3 pieces of advice for navigating these stages successfully. 1, don't just watch, but actually track. Don't just log into VA.gov and stare at the progress bar. Actually track what's happening. Know what records have been requested. Know when your C&P exam is scheduled. Know if any evidence is outstanding. I mean, you can call the VA, ask for a status update, ask specifically, what evidence are you waiting on? Is there anything I can provide to speed this up? Just be proactive. The veterans who get the fastest decisions are typically the ones who stay engaged, not the ones who wait passively in the corner. Advice number 2, submit complete evidence up front. The more complete your initial submission, the faster your claim moves. So include everything relevant like your service treatment records if you have the copies, private medical records, current diagnoses, documentation, nexus letter if you have one, DBQs, personal statement, or even buddy statements. Now consider filing, remember that FDC, the fully developed claim, if you have everything ready. It streamlines evidence gathering and can save and shave months off your timeline. Advice number 3, connect the dots for the rater. Remember, the rater isn't going to piece together your claim for you. Your evidence should tell a clear story. Here's my condition, here's what happened in service, here's the medical connection, here's how it affects my life. If the rater can read your file and immediately understand the connection, you're going to be in good shape. If they have to dig through scattered evidence trying to figure out what you're claiming and why, you're at risk for a denial. So make it easy for them to approve you. That's the game we're playing. So let me leave you with this. 80% of denied claims are denied because of insufficient evidence or poor presentation, not because the veteran didn't have a valid claim. 80%. That means most denials aren't because the veteran doesn't deserve benefits. It's because the evidence wasn't there or it wasn't presented clearly enough. That is preventable. That is fixable. So you just have to understand the stages, know what's happening, submit complete evidence, connect the dots, do those things, and you're dramatically going to increase your chances of an approval. So let me sum up the stages, right? Stage 1 is claim received. It's your postmark, right? Verify the date. Stage 2, initial review. That's the quick triage. Make sure your claim is complete. Stage 3, evidence gathering. This is the big one. C&P exams, records request, so stay engaged. Stage 4, review of evidence. The rater evaluates everything and connects the dots. Stage 5, preparation for decision. This is the bottleneck stage. The decision is now being drafted. Stage 6, pending decision approval. Supervisor sign off, it's almost there, almost done. And finally, stage 7, you get your answers, so read it carefully. Understand the process. Work with the system that we have, and you will get through it faster. Now, one more thing before you go. A lot of veterans go through this entire process for conditions they don't fully understand, and that causes problems. Let's take chronic fatigue syndrome, for example. Veterans hear it's presumptive for Gulf War service and think,